إن الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back for a few words in Ramadan, day 12. In Juz 12, we come across the surah of Yusuf. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions to us about the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, and each and every single aspect of the story of Yusuf alayhi salam has so many lessons. So this beautiful story of Yusuf alayhi salam, subhanallah, when we get the tawfiq and time and ability to actually read over it and sit with the scholars. So before I go on to talk about one particular point, let's remind ourselves, Yusuf alayhi salam, the one whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed with so much beauty, so much handsomeness, that he shines in front of everybody. Straight away, as soon as people see him, there is something about him, there is some awe about him that they just take an immediate liking towards him. And it is mentioned that even the wazir, the minister, who actually spots Yusuf alayhi salam and he actually raises the stakes to purchase him and buy him, he notices something about Yusuf alayhi salam straight away. The minister realized that this young man, this young boy, in fact at that time he was Yusuf, that from his conversations and from his mannerisms he was able to tell that he would grow up to become some great person. So he takes him and he takes him home, and he ensures that this Yusuf is looked after very, very well, and he's actually brought up in his own palace as if though it's his own son, in such a manner. Now fast forward the story to this moment, and we've got to picture ourselves, and in the palace, what the wife of the minister has done, she has been infatuated by Yusuf alayhi salam. She has tried her best to actually lure Yusuf alayhi salam, to seduce Yusuf alayhi salam, time and time again. But each time that she would actually present herself to seduce him, to actually lure him to commit an act of fornication and to commit this lewd act, each time she would present herself, Yusuf alayhi salam, he would turn away. Yusuf alayhi salam, he would not play into her hands. He would actually understand that this is not what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants of me. And each time he would desist and he would actually turn away, and he would do everything within his capacity to actually prevent the advances from this woman. Let's not forget the awkward situation that he is in. He is considered a slave and he has to work for his master in the palace, so who is the minister, and the mistress, the minister's wife. So he actually has a duty towards listening to them and obeying their commands. And it just so happens that the minister's wife, of course, if the minister, he's in charge of the affairs of the state, then his wife, by default, usually back in those days, she would be the most beautiful woman around. And so she is there, and inside the palace, she is doing everything possible to seduce Yusuf alayhi salam. Yusuf alayhi salam, he is actually preventing her advances towards him. But it comes to a crux that one day she cannot tolerate it anymore. Her infatuation and her obsession for Yusuf alayhi salam reaches such heights that what she does, she seduces him under the guise of work to actually enter a certain room, and in that room she bolts it and she locks it from inside. And then after bolting and locking it from the inside, she calls Yusuf and she goes, "Hey, you come." And she uses such language which Allah describes in the Quran, and come on, let's do this, indicating towards the act of gross indecency. It's at that moment where youngsters and the people who are in their prime of their youth and are faced with a beautiful woman, and they have every excuse to be there, that they are, and they have no way of resisting, and they have no way of saying no. All of these excuses are there, and for many a people, they would want, this is what they dream about, that they would have this opportunity with a beautiful woman so that they can relinquish their flames of their desires. But it is at this precise moment that Yusuf alayhi salam, he remembers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yusuf alayhi salam, he responds by saying, "Ma'ad Allah, innahu Rabbi ahsana mathwa." That I seek refuge in Allah. And indeed, my Lord, for him, Yusuf alayhi salam is referring to Allah. And since the mistress, she does not actually take into consideration about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then at least she might consider that when he's saying his Rabb is referring to the minister. So under those circumstances, at least she might be fearful. But no. Think for a moment how Yusuf alayhi salam, he actually fought the temptations. When a man is actually surrounded by such dazzling temptations, and no ordinary temptations with every excuse for you to slip, and it would not be your fault. You are being forced, compelled under those circumstances. And here is Yusuf alayhi salam. He actually, says no to all of this. What power inside an individual, how much power there needs to be from within inside this individual to resist such temptations. It's not easy. It's definitely not easy. And one must think that how amazing the iman, the power and belief of Yusuf alayhi salam is, that Yusuf alayhi salam on that moment, at that instance, what does he do? He runs towards the door. He doesn't not explain, and he doesn't actually say to, excuse me, sorry, I can't do this, maybe we ought to rethink this out. And what does he do? He seeks refuge with Allah and straight away darts towards the door. And as he darts towards the door, trying to unlock the door, look, the wife of the minister is behind him, holding onto him and trying to rip him, grab him back, and in doing so rips his shirt. Such is the temptation that Yusuf alayhi salam is having to fight. Those of us that know the story, we know how it ends. But the point that we're trying to delve into today is how many of us are in the situation where we are surrounded by temptations. And when we are surrounded by temptations, how do we respond back? How do we think, and what do we say to ourselves? Do we fall prey and victim to our desires and think to ourselves that, this fitna is surrounding me, I can't help it, I just have to follow through because everyone else is doing it? Or do we actually say ma'adallah, like Yusuf alayhi salam, and think to ourselves that, no, what can I do? And we refrain from it. This is the point. How many of us, how many brothers and sisters out there who we are in the month of Ramadan, we are fasting, we are trying to actually pray salah, read Quran, but then we have illicit relationships. And those of you brothers and sisters who are at college, at university, you know what I'm talking about. And those of us brothers and sisters who are at work, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They say majority of the affairs that destroy marriages, they start at work with colleagues and office workers. So this is something that we seriously need to think about. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're trying to get close to Allah, and then these temptations, they present themselves to us. Are we going to refrain from them? Are we going to seek refuge from Allah? Or what? This is the month of Ramadan where we are trying to get closer to Allah. We need to stop it right now. We need to cut it. We need to run towards the door. There is no explanation, there is no discourse or dialogue, there is no justification trying to wait or having to see this, or let's wait until Ramadan, or let's just do this. No, if we know that we are engaged in an illicit relationship, this illicit relationship must end straight off. There is no success, and because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give any success to the ones who are oppressive, and the people who are actually involved in such relationships, we are in oppressive relationships. And with these actions are oppressive actions, where it's from us or from others, or where it's somebody else's sister, somebody else's mother, somebody else's aunt, somebody else's daughter involved. We are being very, very oppressive. We need to seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to ask Allah to forgive us. We need to end this straight away. And when we end this straight away, just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave success to Yusuf alayhi salam in the darkest moments when he thought that he was being overtaken, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him success. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq that we sever all illicit relations, we cut them off straight away, and we are loyal to Allah alone. And when we are loyal to Allah alone, Allah will make us successful, and Allah will give success in the existing relationships that we have. And for those brothers and sisters who are not married, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless you with a pious, with a beautiful, with a handsome spouse. and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will enlighten and bless and put extreme amounts of barakah in your life and in your spouse's life. This is a promise from Allah, and this is what Allah will give to those who are loyal to Him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all tawfiq to practice upon this. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.